You can't hide!
Spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes. I'll talk movies all day, sometimes I'll talk about games, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Killzone 3, the 2011 sci-fi action shooter, and as the number on the end of the title would suggest, the fourth game in the Killzone series. So similar to other gaming videos I've done, this is less a review to help you decide if you want to play it or not, and more a review describing my experience playing this game again 15 years after it was released. And as with other videos in this series, let's start with a little history. Now if I remember correctly, I played Killzone 3 for the first time either on release day or very shortly after. I definitely remember buying it on the strength of Killzone 2. Killzone 2 for me at the time was incredible. I remember the hype started pretty much as soon as the 2005 E3 trailer dropped. Also, RIP E3. Now bear in mind, I never played the first Killzone game because, well, to be honest, it looked boring to me. So I avoided that completely. But when I saw that E3 trailer, I was sold. Literally, take my money now. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was a big reason in my decision to even buy a PlayStation 3. So 2009 comes around and Killzone 2 is finally out, and it did not disappoint. Amazing visuals, satisfying action, story, it checked all the boxes. Now apparently, now that I'm looking back into the history of the internet, there were a significant number of people that really didn't like Killzone 2 at all. So I think it's important to acknowledge that for the sake of not being too one-sided in this video. But as far as I'm concerned, from what I remember, Killzone 2 was fantastic. So now you might be wondering, okay, cool, but why aren't you talking about Killzone 2 17 years later then? Well, I wanted to, but when I dusted off my old PS3 Fat Boy, turned it on, redone all the settings, downloaded all the updates, popped in the disc, downloaded more updates, and then booted up the game, the sound wasn't working. Game loaded, image displayed, controls worked, but no sound. I took out the disc, put Killzone 3 in, downloaded some more updates, and it worked with no issues. So here we are. By the way, it turns out the lack of sound was more to do with one of the settings on the PS3, which I've since amended, so maybe I'll get back to Killzone 2 after all. But anyway, for now, Killzone 3 from what I remember at the time was every bit as fantastic as Killzone 2. In fact, I liked it so much I decided to go back in time and get the first Killzone game, because now I'm thinking maybe it just wasn't marketed right. Maybe it's better than the impressions it gives. So I bought Killzone, loaded it up, started playing, and yeah, it was just boring. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people put a lot of effort into these things, but it just wasn't for me. So yeah, sometimes you can judge a game by its screenshots. Anyway, let's talk about playing Killzone 3 15 years later. Now I've said this before, but these days the time I get for gaming is nowhere near as much as I used to. And because of that, one of the things I like to see is games that don't make you repeat hours of gameplay. So it was good to be pleasantly reminded that Killzone 3 uses a pretty good checkpoint system. The way it works is if you die, you restart from the last checkpoint, but if you quit out, then you restart the chapter. And for the most part, the chapters aren't that long, so it certainly never feels egregious. And especially considering my play sessions were often a week or more apart for maybe an hour at a time, it was kind of nice to get a little reminder via pre-chapter cutscenes of what exactly is going on and what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. Though that said, you just shoot stuff, and occasionally press a button to interact with something. And if you ever get confused, you press the up button for the direction arrow to tell you where to go. It's not that hard to figure out. Oh, and when you set charges, you actually move the controller to turn the handle, which is still pretty cool to me. Motion controls were kind of a big deal back then. Nintendo already had a massive hit with the Wii, which was an entirely motion control based console. Microsoft jumped on the bandwagon with the Kinect in 2010, and even Sony threw their hat in the ring with the Move. Now you could play Killzone 3 with the Move controller. I didn't, mainly because I had a Nintendo Wii, so I already knew that as cool and impressive as the motion controls were, I really didn't want to be flailing my arms around for hours at a time. Though to be fair, you wouldn't have to flail your arms around if you also got the sharpshooter attachment to go along with it, but I think at the time I just wasn't trying to spend the money, so for me, the 6-axis PS3 controller was the right combination of traditional and motion controls. But anyway, in terms of what to do, Killzone 3 is a pretty simple game. Shoot stuff, try not to get shot, though you probably will. The difficulty comes from who, what, and how many enemies are shooting at you at any one time. The early stages didn't present much of a challenge on the medium setting, but it definitely gets harder as it progresses, but never to the point of just being ridiculously hard. Now that said, one of the things that did and still does annoy me just a little bit, and it isn't just Killzone 3 that does this, lots of shooting games do this, but why, oh why do all the enemies shoot at you? Okay, to be fair, that's not exactly true, but it can definitely feel like a lot of the time, even if you're in a large group at the back of the fray, somehow as soon as you pop your head out from cover just a tiny little bit, everybody's shooting at you. Like, come on, Rico is right there. Or better yet, shoot at that wasteman Captain Narville. Because that's another thing, by the way, I forgot how much of a wasteman Captain Narville is. The way he had all that smoke for Rico.
Is that understood?
Yes, sir!
Sergeant Velasquez, are you too stupid to follow a direct order to shut the fuck up?
But when it came to Sev, where's that same energy, bro?
There are more important things than our men. We cannot let the Helghast get to Earth with whatever Stahl has been building in those labs.
If we go out there, we can kiss our asses goodbye. We need to think. There has to be another way.
Cause I could speculate, but nah. You don't want me to speculate. But apparently, a lot of people, at least a lot of people on Reddit, did not like Rico. Which, I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of baffling to me. I mean, sure, he's a bit too headstrong, which can absolutely be a liability. Definitely not a character any real-life soldier should be emulating. But as far as the fantasy fiction of the game goes, he was right to kill Vizari at the end of Killzone 2. Actually, maybe not right, but certainly understandable. But he was definitely right to challenge Captain Narville's authority, because it was clear that Narville just talks big but has no backbone, out here following orders to surrender and kissing Sevchenko's ass. And let's not forget, it was Rico that went to rescue Jammer when Narville was too much of a wasteman to do the right thing.
Velasquez, stick to your orders.
Fuck your orders. I didn't come here to run from the Helghast. I don't leave people behind. Hold on, Jammer, I'm coming!
And even then, instead of Narville to make some kind of effort to help, he just leaves them all for dead.
God damn, this isn't a drill. Get to your transport. Move! Sevchenko! Give me your hand. Where the hell is Rico?
I don't know. No, wait, what about Rico?
And even after that, Rico still comes back to rescue Sev and Narville. So I don't see why Rico got so much hate when bare times Jack Bauer killed someone he wasn't supposed to and disobeyed an order. John Wick has killed 439 people so far to get revenge for a dog. Yes, it's all love for them, but all animosity for Rico? Why? Cause I could speculate, but nah. You don't want me to speculate. You man must have been playing this game with one hand on the controller and the other hand holding an iPhone 4S scrolling through Google+. Anyway, speaking of characters, generally everyone is kind of the one-dimensional macho tough talking type, which is fine. That would have been par for the course back then. In 2026 though, I'm not sure those types of characters do so well. I mean, they're certainly not obsolete, but when that's all there is, it does start to feel like, yeah, okay, I get it, you're a badass. Like, how is this guy out in the snow in short sleeves, fingerless gloves, no headwear, and man don't even so much as shiver? Really? Or is it that humans don't feel the cold on Helgen? Because if that's true, then dude must have been sweating like a cardiologist in a courtroom when he put on that Helghast winter uniform. It also doesn't help that a lot of the dialogue, especially on the ISA side, just feels clunky. But then on the Helgen side,
I mean, are you ignoring it on purpose, or is this part of some strategy beyond our understanding? Is it?
You build the weapons, Stahl, and I'll decide how to use them.
it could be a little cheesy at times, but definitely felt more like of an actual performance rather than somebody just reading the script out loud on their lunch break. What's interesting though is that back then, I think I remember liking the ISA dialogue. Maybe I thought it sounded cool, or maybe I was too busy scrolling through Google Plus on an iPhone 4S. However, despite the cliches, the one-dimensional characters, and the wasteman that is Captain Narville, the general story is still pretty tight. It's kind of like it has the bones of a really in-depth narrative, like somebody on the writing team was really thinking about the politics of it all, the intergalactic relationships, and how decisions get made by people who aren't affected by the decisions they're making. The final moments of the game really seemed like it was going for a morally ambiguous moment with Sev asking,
Jesus, how many people were down there?
Now, honestly, I don't think it fully came across as hard-hitting as perhaps they intended, but it did seem like that's what they were going for. I actually think that with the right crew, a TV series or movie adaptation of this can go hard. I mean, imagine Space Above and Beyond, but with Killzone characters. Wait, what's Space Above and Beyond, I hear you ask? Well, it's only the greatest ever one-series space sci-fi ever, but, you know, I think in the end it was only me and like 2 other people that actually watched it, so yeah. But speaking of things nobody knew about, I was today years old when I found out there is actually a book based on Killzone 3 called Killzone Ascendancy by Sam Bradbury. It came out in February 2011, about the same time as the game, and apparently it goes into more detail with the political side of the story. Now, I guess it wasn't a particularly popular book release, but it does seem like the few people who read it really liked it, so I don't know, I might have to try and make time for this myself one day. Anyway, what definitely does still hold up well in my opinion is the gameplay. Back then, I was most definitely all about the action games, and Killzone 3 delivered, and 15 years later, it is still delivering. From the moment the game started, the controls felt like I never put it down. Everything was just natural. And the visuals are still impressive. I mean, sure, it definitely looks like 2011, but during the intense action sequences like the MAWLR battle, you may as well be in the game at that point. Perhaps my one gripe is that it was too easy to accidentally hit the aim down sights, which kind of takes you out of the immersion when you're running somewhere and then all of a sudden you're staring at the sky. I can't remember if I had that issue when I played it the first time, maybe 15 years later my thumbs are heavier, I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, it's minor. I think by now people who are more used to modern shooters can still get something out of Killzone 3. A lot of the basic controls like running, jumping, crouching and of course shooting are pretty much the same across similar games, so it won't have a steep learning curve. Also, the autosave feature isn't just good for people with limited time, it's also good for people who are too young to remember early 90s gaming. Trust me when I say, you don't know the struggle. So yeah, I think for anyone who hasn't played it, if you're a fan of first-person action shooters, this might not blow your mind like it did for me in 2011, but it could still be a fun, low-pressure journey into gaming history. Oh, and also, Killzone 3 came out during a time when Sony was really pushing 3D games to play on 3D TVs. Now, I didn't play Killzone 3 in 3D, I didn't have a 3D TV, and had zero intention of ever getting one, and as it turned out, not many people had any intention of getting one either, but still worth noting for anyone who feels like hunting down some old crappy 3D TVs, along with some old crappy 3D headsets, just to play this game in the most unnecessary way possible. But that's what I think of Killzone 3. What do you think of Killzone 3? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.